where they project in the draft. Philadelphia went for a lineman. The Rams come back and I think get the best pure left tackle on the board in Wayne Gandy.
All right, we heard Coach Gottfried's comment on Bernard Williams. What about Wayne Gandy? How, Mike, does he stack up against Williams and stack up against NFL competition?
Well, Chris, I like Bernard Williams better than I do Wayne Gandy, left tackle position. And as a freshman in college at Georgia, he was a defensive lineman, just the opposite of Big Daddy, what he did. But Wayne Gandy benefits, and he will be helped by the fact that he played both sides. He was a weak side player for Auburn, which meant that he was on the left side sometimes and then on the right side. So he's played both sides so he could spot play the tackles of the Rams. He played on the side that there was no tight end, so that will help him in pro football.
All right, Coach, we are a little bit more than halfway through the first round, of which this year there are 29 picks, and we return the Dolphins. So Wayne is going Gandy to the L.A. Rams. We'll return to New York in just a moment.
If you lust for power, try this. 1,340 cc's of rolling thunder. It's called Harley-Davidson, and you'll find it in all its glory at Southeast Harley in Cleveland, where you can get anything from an FXR to a BLT. But if you go, bring your love of the two-lane blacktop and your Visa card, because at Southeast Harley, they'll take you to hog heaven, but they won't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
The 3M Filtrete Clean Air Filter gets more of the small stuff that's in your air out. Stuff an ordinary furnace and air conditioner filter would miss, like more of the dust, more of the pollen and mold, more of these particles that could irritate your allergies. It even gets more animal dander. Try the Filtrete Clean Air Filter. It gets more of the aggravating things in your air out, even smoke. Look for the 3M Filtrete Clean Air Filter wherever you buy furnace or air conditioner filters.
Get it moving.
Keep on moving. Oh, yeah. Come on. Sing it. Yeah.
And the silver bullet has the taste to keep it moving.
Come on.
Coors Light.
Oh, yeah.
Naturally brewed for a taste that goes down easy.
Sing it.
Coors Light. Keep on moving.
You'd be surprised what a BMW convertible is going for these days. The new 318i.
We are back in New York, and points beyond at the NFL draft. Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Mel Kiper, and and our band of renown. And one of those band of renown is Chris Mortensen, who is in Indianapolis. We talked more a moment ago about the run on offensive linemen. Gandy, of course, being selected 15th is not really sliding very far, but there were some teams that were a little shaky about drafting him. Obviously, the Rams not one of them. What's up with him?
Well, Chris, what happened, and a couple teams seriously downgraded him, he's got a weak back, and though there's not a disc problem per se, some team doctors have warned teams, this is a player who has to get stronger physically. He has to be very careful in the weight room. They could see him being a weight room casualty if he's not careful. So Gandy, a bit of a weak back, but at the same time, a lot of teams think, as Mel mentioned, the best pure left tackle in this draft.
All right, Mort, let's look now at the Miami Dolphins, who are on the clock, a team that on Thanksgiving Day had the best record in football. They got that gift win at the Dallas Cowboys, and they were rolling. Of course, the Dolphins didn't win in the last month of the season, were eliminated from the playoffs the last game of the season by the New England Patriots. Obviously, they started the year with an injury to Dan Marino. It continued. Mitchell looked good, then he got hurt. They had injuries to Troy Vincent. The Miami Dolphins have changed their secondary. This is a team that's got a lot of things going on, not all of them good. Of course, Marino coming back is obviously a major plus. But Mel, we look at the Dolphins, they have some needs, a let's look at the board. Who's out there? Because that might shape where they go.
Some real good players, Chris. I think the board is shaping up very well for the Miami Dolphins at this point. You have Aaron Taylor. They have problems, the Miami Dolphins do, on the right side at guard and tackle. Aaron Taylor is the best lineman on the board at this point. You look down the line at Dwayne Washington. You have Troy Vincent coming off of a serious knee injury. J.B. Brown on the other side. I know at the Senior Bowl, Don Shula raved about Dwayne Washington from NC State, so they are getting outstanding value at this point in the draft with a mid-first round selection.
Of course, another question about the Dolphins, John Offerdahl, and they don't know if he's going to be back. And unfortunately, he's such a marvelous football player, Joe, but never really healthy. And you know, this is certainly a position they've got to think about. They got Cox on the outside, but at backer, who knows?
Absolutely. Winfred Tubbs is a consideration. I find it interesting, though, when I look at drafts, sometimes you take people not only to help yourself, but to possibly not allow other teams in your division to improve. Give you an example, Trev Alberts, okay? Indianapolis takes him. Yes, he's a need player for them. Yes, he'll play a long time for the Indianapolis Colts. But don't you think that the Miami Dolphins would have given anything to be able to have the quality of that type of an inside backer? So when you look at what Bill Tobin did, he's got now a running back who can just wreak havoc on the Miami Dolphins in that division for a long time. He's taken a linebacker off the board that could have helped him. It looks like to me like not only has he helped himself, but he certainly hasn't helped the Miami Dolphins in the process.
No, the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are after them on the clock, maybe after the same sort of player. Let's check in with Mark Malone down in Philadelphia. You think they're scuffling right now in their respective war rooms?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I talked to the people in Pittsburgh, and after they could move up and get a defensive tackle, Boomer, they're looking to get a wide receiver. They never dreamed that Charles Johnson and Johnny Morton would both be there, but I also understand that they're looking at offensive line. A guy like Aaron Taylor's around. They can't pass him up, especially with 3 starters next year. John Jackson, Dermontti Dawson, and the swingman, Justin Strelzik, all have their contracts coming due, so it ought to be very interesting. If Taylor's there, I think the Steelers take him.
All right, Mark, certainly by judging on Mel's board, that could be the case, and I don't rank him as high on the board, but yet a guy who was moved up quietly, the best center in the draft, Eric Malum, a great athlete. Now, remember, the Dolphins just lost Ulenik yesterday, so maybe that's a long shot, but maybe a shot that Miami at least is exploring, as they have about 5.5 minutes to go in this for their first-round pick. Let's look at well, I'll tell you what. With the Dolphins and the AFC East is perhaps a changing division, but first we're going to take a timeout. I lied. We got 2 different signals, and here's the Dolphins that have made a trade, a third signal. And I got to guess with this one. Let them announce, and I think we know where we're going now. Here's the trade. We hear the Packers have traded with this slide for Miami. And the commissioner will announce the terms of the trade, and I'll tell you why.
Well, thank you very much.
Green Bay and Miami have made a trade. Green Bay has acquired this Miami selection, which is the 16th pick in the first round, and with that pick, Green Bay has selected Aaron Taylor, tackle Notre Dame.
Like I said, the commissioner will explain why they made the pick. The Green Bay Packers move right in.
Pittsburgh is now on the clock. We'll have the details of the trade for you in a minute.
And the trade will come with the Green Bay Packers, who coveted one of those 3 offensive linemen in that slot. People thought they were looking at receiver. Remember, none of which have yet to go. But if one of those linemen fell down to a place that the Packers could make a move and move up from 20 up to 16, so they took Aaron Taylor. Here are the details of the trade right now.
On the trade between Green Bay and Miami, Miami acquires Green Bay's first and third round picks in this draft, which are the 20th and the 89th. Of course, Green Bay acquired the pick from Miami, which they just exercised. Once again, it's Green Bay's first and third picks, the 20th and the 89th, which go to the Dolphins.
Well, Well, so Aaron Taylor goes to the Packers, and if Miami's interested in the center, he'll certainly be there at number 20. We know that much. Is Aaron Taylor a guard or a tackle? He almost has to play guard, doesn't he, Mel?
He's played both, Chris. He's played left tackle as a senior, left guard prior to that. Won the Lombardi Award for his outstanding play this year, solidifying the Fighting Irish offensive line. 300-pounder Aaron Taylor started off a little slow this year, but really came on as the season progressed. You see him on the left side there, opening up some running room for Ray Zellers, a guy that has good explosion at the point of attack, has developed into a good pass blocker. The only problem with Aaron Taylor, and the reason why he may have dropped, is because you really didn't sense a lot of confidence in his own ability to play left tackle. When I questioned him about that at the Lombardi Award this year, he really said he didn't feel a lot of confidence out at that spot, didn't really feel comfortable playing left tackle. And I think a lot of people may have shied away because you normally want a player who feels, hey, give me the opportunity, I'll do a job. Aaron Taylor really shied away from that and wanted to be a left guard. That's his position that he feels best about playing in the National Football League.
Well, Waddell had played there last year, where that was the projected right now at the left guard for the Packers. Who really, Joe, on paper, you would say, do they need another receiver opposite Sterling Sharp? So that may have raised an eyebrow. Good move or a questionable move for the Packers?
I don't disagree with the move, and I think the only reason that this move is, I would say, a good move is because you have an abundance of wide receivers in this draft. Here is why they have to get, I call, a complimentary receiver. Look at the catches in 1993. Sterling Sharp, his second consecutive year over 100. The next closest is Robert Brooks at 20, and that's it. 3 passes caught by everybody else. So you've got a total of 135 catches. Sterling Sharp has 112. Absolutely no touchdowns. I think it's a good move. You got to protect the quarterback. Of course, they got to they have to sign Brett Favre yet, but I think they'll get that done. Lots of wide receivers left. Not a bad move for Green Bay. Would have liked to see them get a compliment, but someone will still be there.
Well, the Packers will sign Favre. They've got a tough one in Jackie Harris, their tight end who Tampa likes. Remember, if you missed it a couple of days ago, they signed Reggie Cobb, the running back. So they are a team that's assembling quite an interesting ball club. The Pittsburgh Steelers now have any wide receiver they would like, Mark Malone. Is that what they do?
Absolutely, no doubt about it, Chris. This is a football team. When you look at their depth chart early on, they had big holes at wide receiver and a defensive line. They didn't get the defensive lineman. They didn't get Aaron Taylor. I talked to Tom Donahoe earlier in the week, and he basically told me this. Charles Johnson's got a lot of upside potential. Johnny Morton's the guy that can come in and make an impact right away. I don't know if they've made a decision. I'm sure they didn't figure on both of those players being available at the 17th pick. Chris?
All right, Mark, the Steelers on the clock. We'll be back with their selection in just a moment. We roar on here in the first round at the NFL Draft, the Marriott Marquis in New York. We'll be back.
Hits, the toughest catches, and NFL excitement at its best. It's in the cards for 94. Get ready for Buddy Bowl. Season tickets available at all Dillards or call the Cardinals today.
The King, the 94 Roadmaster. Big on luxury at $23,145. ABS brakes, dual airbags, power everything. A 5.7-liter V8 town car can't touch. This is the big time. Roadmaster at Petrie, Liberty, Childress, Scott Brom, and Tony Corey Buick. Everything big but the price. Buick is leading the way.
He hits a monster slap shot, but I catch it behind my back, Frisbee style. And everyone's so stunned, I start skating. My coach is yelling, go. Bob leaves giving me directions, but I'm the amazing skating goalie. And I score the winning goal. Wow. Which gets me a dance with Ty Babylonia. Yeah, that's my Sports Center highlight.
The Steeler class of '74 was a draft for the ages. First-round pick Lynn Swann was poetry and grace and saved his best for Pro Football Showcase. In round 2, the Steelers nabbed Kent State's Jack Lambert. The 9-time All-Pro brought a nasty attitude to the steel curtain and hits to match. Alabama A&M's John Stallworth was the 4th-round choice, became the Steelers' all-time leading receiver. 1 round later, they selected Mike Webster, who became the prototype for the center position. Talk about a draft. I think the Steelers in 1974, anyone that says, well, that's not a big deal, the NFL draft, you look at